Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
What got you into vlogging?
It was really an outgrowth of the constant desire to find the latest in internet trends, technical trends, and make sure they're reflected on our website for the purpose of creating really a more enjoyable user experience, better content, which leads to better traffic and more time spent on our site. What happened was, as I got into it, you take a camera to a place like the NFL draft, and you really become hooked on the act of recording extraordinary things that are happening around you, what people are doing. And then when I was in New York for the draft, a friend of mine said, you should check out Rocketboom. And I look forward to seeing your vlog as opposed to blog. And that was the first time that it really hit me that this is an entirely different medium unto itself, even different from blogging.
Why do you vlog?
I vlog to record what's happening around me. I vlog to report. I vlog to entertain. I vlog to bring work and better content to the website of my company, Sports Business Simulations. That's really, I do it for all of the above, all bundled together.
What is your inspiration?
Oh, my inspiration. I would say I don't really have one inspiration other than, well, I do have an inspiration, ESPN.com, because in a sense they bring together video, text, and gaming, and so from a macro perspective regarding the website of Sports Business Simulations, that's my inspiration.
And can you tell me who you are and then your site, one site that you want to plug?
Yes.
Where we can go?
I'm Zennie Abraham. I'm chairman and CEO of Sports Business Simulations. Want to get a great taste of what we're doing? Go to my NFL business blog at nflbusinessblog.com. Again, nflbusinessblog.com. That's one of 31 blogs we have.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Oh, say again.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
What got you into vlogging?
I had attended a panel at South by Southwest with Mike Verdi and Shlomo Rabinowitz, and it was called How to Add Video to Your Weblog. And right after that, I went home and immediately started adding video to my blogs.
Why do you vlog?
Communication is more than just text and more than just words. There's so much that comes through on your face that doesn't come through in words. That's why there's so many disagreements in email, because you can't tell when people are joking or when people are not being authentic with you. And so video is much more powerful than text.
What is your inspiration?
What is my inspiration? That's too hippie for me. I can't answer that question.
And who are you?
My name is Laura Monker, and I write for Starling Travel, Starling Fitness, and the Gadgets page.
Okay, can I zoom into your name tag?
Sure.
Laura Monker. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Go ahead now.
Goedemorgen, goedemiddag en goeienacht.
What got you into vlogging?
What got me into vlogging? I guess it was having the whole thing of posting videos on just a regular website all the time.
Yeah.
It was a pain in the ass. And then I found video blogging and it made it so much easier. And then it just exploded from there. You know, you hear the stories. It just exploded from there. Because here's the thing. There's three things that have to happen for the democratization of media. Number one, people have to have the tools and devices cheap to be able to do stuff. Like the cameras, to be able to do broadcast quality. Now you've got the mini DV cameras, that's doing broadcast. Number two, people have to be able to easily edit and put this stuff online. Or no, easy edit of this stuff. So now you got the computers to do the editing. Some of the cameras you can even do in-camera editing. Some mobile phones you can do in mobile phone editing. But the third and final problem of the democratization of media is distribution. And up until now, that distribution has been held by the Time Warners, has been held by the Sonys. They're the gatekeepers, but no more, because with video blogging, now you can distribute this in an instant worldwide. That's now where we're at, and that's very cool.
Why do you vlog?
Why do I vlog? Man, it's a kick. It is a kick. It's a kick when you create something and when you create something and you put it out in the world and you get feedback from that creation. You make, contact with other people, and then you can start to get ideas. It's like film school all over again, and you can make new stuff with new people and cross borders. And the real thing that I love about vlogging is that my message is going out beyond just my community. It's going out across the world. People in Asia, people in Germany, people in South America are seeing this video and getting an understanding of my surroundings.
What is your inspiration?
For what?
Vlogging.
What is my inspiration for vlogging? A person?
Yeah, like person, could be person.
My inspiration for vlogging is Francis Ford Coppola, #1, when he talked about the possibility back in the documentary, I believe it was Nightmare, his Apocalypse Now documentary. He talks about how kids are going out with 8mm, now they're going out with video cameras, and they're making films, and they're going to be the next Scorsese, they're going to be the next this. It's about really turning this into an art form, okay? #1. #2, my father. When he told me when I was 16 years old, Gabe, when you're older in the future, you'll be able to start your own TV station from your garage and broadcast it to the world. Those are my two inspirations for vlogging.
Thank you. And you are Gabe.
My name
McIntyre.
is Gabe McIntyre from Zillow TV. And I only got one thing to say, and that's go vlog yourself.
Thank you.
This is the panel titled Pimping Out a WordPress or Blogger Blog. And I'm Jen Simmons, and this is Josh Paul, and we're going to both teach you a few things about Blogger and about WordPress. Can you guys hear okay? I know there's a lot of noise in here. Yes, no? Louder. Yeah, where are the speakers? Loud, check. So this is the volume level, and we're wondering if we can make it louder without creating feedback. Maybe we can, and maybe we can get loud enough to not have to turn off the fans. Or maybe we need to turn off the fans. Check. Yeah, here comes the feedback. There it goes. It's rolling. Coming in. I think we may need to turn off this fan. You can hear? Okay, and we won't turn off the fan. Okay. So let me turn it over to Josh Paul, and he's going to start the presentation he's made.
Okay, thanks for showing up. We're going to be covering a few things dealing with Blogger and WordPress, which are two of the more popular blogging packages for what I think are video bloggers. Blogger is owned by Google, which you've probably heard of. If you want to, you can sign up for a free account at blogger.com. They do give you limited control over the look and feel initially, and Jen is going to show you how to get around that. And they also provide you the ability to host on external servers, but I know that there are a few hoops you have to jump through. And once you set up your site, it's actually at blogspot.com. And as for WordPress, it is open source, so if you're kind of geeky, you can download the code at wordpress.org. Complete control over the look, feel, the code. I mean, you really own this thing. And there's a very thriving community, very thriving community behind it, and it's actively being developed, and there's always new people, new blood, new ideas. Additionally, you can get a free WordPress blog at wordpress.com. However, they do kind of limit what you can do for safety reasons. As for visual design, you can see these are kind of default templates that you'll get. The first one is on Blogger. This one's on WordPress. It's pretty much what you're going to get out of the box. It's a decent looking site, but they're pretty much everywhere because most people don't customize beyond that. I'm going to hand this back over to Jen and let her go through some of the points on here and explain what you're looking at.
So I really appreciated so much what Peter was talking about this morning with values and what values this technology sort of just demonstrates sort of in a subconscious way. And I've done a lot of website design, and I continue to do a lot of all kinds of design, and I feel like the blog design itself has so much potential to really exhibit who you are and what kind of work you're making. And so I love it when I see people change around their blog and so that it really looks like you. And when somebody goes to the site, they get some ideas about who you are and what you're up to, and you can make it as countercultural as you want to, and as bright and colorful or as muted as you want to. And I think there's a tendency of us all to sort of copy sort of the mainstream advertisements you see on the bus all the time, or something that's sort of one kind of visual design. And what I hope to do right now is give you some tools so that you don't necessarily have to have it look like everybody else's blog. You don't necessarily have to have it look like corporate advertising. You can make it be your own. So flip me over to yeah, if you can, we just go to the website. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I was teaching at Temple University this past year, and some of my students were doing some great things with their templates. And this is one that was made by a student named Diva Watson. And this is Minima, which, just a moment ago you were seeing that little window of that white. I'm sure you've all seen it, the white with the wind. This is that same template. It's exactly the same template. She's using a background image and a custom masthead. And I'm going to show you how to do those two things in a moment. If you look down here, you start to go, oh yeah, like I recognize that font and that color. So it's the same template without a whole lot of things that are changed. And there's a couple others. I don't think that these are Minima. They're another template, but they are. This is Minima, actually. This is the same exact template. And the screen is small, so it's hard to see, but there are all these dots over on the side that move around. Can we mirror the computer? Is that too much of a pain so I can see what I'm doing? Thank you. So then here's another template. It's again a Blogger template that's been modified quite a bit. So one thing I did to make things a little bit easier is I made a template. I took Minima and I changed it around a little bit. So you're welcome to go to this website and take this template. And what I'm going to show you is ways to modify this version of this template, so do that. I put all kinds of comments in it, pointing things out a little bit better so that you can see where exactly you're supposed to do these things I'm supposed to show you. The URL is, if you go to jensimmons.com/videoblogging, there's that's the page we were just on, and this page is jensimmons.com/videoblogging/template.html. So right now, that template looks like this. And I did a couple things to it. One is I put some chiclets in the sidebar that a lot of video bloggers like to use, so that it's already started for you. And the other thing is that I made this graphic to sort of give you some numbers. What you want to do, and there's a tutorial that goes very carefully step by step already on Freevlog, so I'm not going to go through all those steps. But you use Photoshop, you make yourself a graphic, you upload it onto a server, whether it's your server or Flickr or the Blogspot servers, and the Freevlog template, the Freevlog tutorial will show you how to get it on the Blogspot servers. And then you plug it into the code. I'll show you where in a second. And your new graphic will show up on the top of this template. You can make that graphic be any size or shape you want it to be. This rectangle here is 700 by 150 pixels. This graphic is 400 pixels by 170 pixels. There's a circle over there. There's a big square that's 300 by 300. So this is just kind of to give you a sense of like what shape or numbers you might want to use, and you should do whatever you want to do, really. If you're having trouble getting it to align where you want it to be, then you might want to make your graphic be like the circle over here, and then leave yourself a big bunch of empty space to get it to be justified the way you want it to be. It's not the most efficient way to do it, but it's like a good way if you're not quite sure what's going on. So here's that same thing again, and the code. In the template that I put up there for you to download, there's a section where it looks exactly like this. Masthead, star, here, it's like here. And that's just so that when you're scrolling through all the code, if you don't really know what all that code is, hopefully it's clear. And you just put the URL for your picture right there, instead of the one that's there right now for this picture. And if you leave this alone, then if they don't have the ability to see the picture, they'll get a text instead, a piece of text that is your blog title, the one that you set in Blogger. So it's a good idea to leave that alone. There's a link here to the tutorial at Freevlog if you want to know more about what I'm talking about. If that's a little too fast for you, you should go watch this. So then let me talk about background images. And this is going to be the body of what I talk about today. So here is a page that I just made that has no background image at all. It's got a color assigned to it, and the color that happened to be the one I picked is BC8F7. For all you fans of BC8F7, there it is. If I make a photo, image, GIF in Photoshop that looks like this, I can use this as my background. And this image is 800 pixels wide by 30 pixels tall. And it's got green on both sides, see it like that. And if I use that, I end up with this. And this is the code that I wrote in the CSS to make that happen. So there's the number, and then I wrote this, and then center and repeat Y. The center is the URL. If you've got a longer URL with the http:// then you should put that on there. Center makes it center in the middle of the image, and repeat Y makes it repeat over and over again on the Y axis. And if I open the window wider than this computer is letting me right now, you can see that that blue is showing up. Do you guys get that? That this image is repeated over and over again, but it's only 800 pixels. So when I stretch the browser window wider than that, the blue that is that color shows back up. So I don't want that. What I want to have happen is I want it to be green all the way across. So if I change the code just a little bit and I use this number for my color, AAD400, which happens to be the number of this color, then when I stretch the window out wide, you can't see the edge of the image. The edge of the image is actually right about in the same place, but there's green behind it, right? So if you get that idea of what's happening, then you can play with that, whatever image that might be. So here I put a little drop shadow on my white box. I have a white box in Photoshop with a green box behind it, and I put a drop shadow on the white box, which makes it look like this, right? Something you've probably seen on a lot of websites on the web. But there is a little bit of a problem. See this little ugly thing? That's because in Photoshop doesn't create shadow at the very top when you use the layer filter. Like it's a layer effects. There's a layer effects called drop shadow in Photoshop, and if you use that, it just has this little weird thing where it's kind of like, well, there's no shadow because there's nothing above this, so it makes a little funky thing. So the way to get around it is to basically make one that's big and then flatten it and then crop it so that you get rid of this little place that's messed up, and it's, you've just got the good part in the middle. And then when you do that, you end up with this kind of a background with a nice little drop shadow and a little line. I put a little pink line on it. Or you can do a lot of things like this. I have a purple column. It doesn't look purple here, but it is. And a red and a white and some white lines and some gray lines and some drop shadows. And you can get kind of complex with it. And I made it really, really wide because because this isn't a solid block of red. This is a pattern. And so I want, no matter how wide you make the page, I want it to show pattern the whole time. So if you look at this background on our original page, it looks like this. Can you see that? Well, you can look at it again later and see what it looks like. And if you have a blog where there's columns, then basically all of this kind of, this whole website is over top of that exact image. So it's like clear stuff over that one image that's just repeated over and over and over again. But you don't have to do that with the lines and that there's other ways you can do background images. Here I just took a graphic and made an image. And then the image just shows up in the background of the page. And you can make your image be really light or really dark or whatever so that it's readable. You want to make sure that your image looks readable. And the code for that is here, where you put no repeat, so that it doesn't repeat. It just shows up once. It's a lot to take in, kind of. If you've never played with CSS before, it's sort of like, what? It starts to get to be a little much. So that's why I put all this stuff online, so you guys can go back and look at it again. It's just, right now, time is so short. Another really cool thing you can do, though, is fix the background so that the graphic stays still while the text moves up and down while you scroll. And all you have to do to accomplish that is put the word fixed in the CSS. And then, it's like, whoa, there's two things going on. And another thing you can do is tile your image the other direction. So here I've made a vertical slice with a gradient where it kind of goes from dark blue down to light blue. And the CSS is a little bit different, where it says repeat X, and then your background goes this direction all the way across like that. So if you keep playing with things like that, you can do a lot of different things. And that first page that I showed you, Diva took a Polaroid picture of herself and made that her masthead. And then she took the black slashes and the heart, and she just made it one graphic out of that. The graphic was about this big. And she used CSS to say, put that at the top and put it all the way to the left, and don't repeat it at all. And then it's just this little graphic that sits there in the corner. So there's this really good guide at the W3 schools to CSS, and it's a great place to go to look up little bits of code. Because once you sort of understand the principles, you know what you want, but then you can't remember the code to save your life. So this is a good place to go to find it. And there's a whole section on background. There's all kinds of things, but one of them is background. And if you go to this, it will show you all kinds of like examples, step by step. How to set the color, how to set the image, how to repeat, how to fix it, how to write more efficient code. And there's all kinds of like, these are the things you can do, and these are the things that you can do. So here you can say top left, top center, top right. It kind of gives you a list of the possibilities. So it ends up kind of being like, I hope, a creative endeavor to figure out, you know, what's a background that you could pick? What color do you want it to be? Is there some sort of line or graphic that you'd like to have on it? Do you want to have columns of color? Do you want to have a kind of a little thing happening at the top that then spills to a solid color? And then either repeat your image one way or the other, or both ways at the same time if you'd like, or have it be not repeating. And, you know, between the masthead and the background image, really play with some possibilities. How are we doing on time? Oh. So, is there any, so like one or two questions specifically about that I could answer technically about like what I just talked about? Yeah. In Blogger, no. The way that the Blogger template works, there's a whole bunch of CSS and a whole bunch of HTML, and that is the code for every single solitary page. I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless someone else knows something else, but I'm pretty sure. I've never seen a way to do that. In WordPress, you can. That's one of the differences between WordPress and Blogger. In WordPress, you can say, well, I want my home page to look like this, and an individual page for a post is going to look like this, and a comment page is going to look like this, and an archive page is going to look like that. And if you really know, if you really hack it like crazy, you could make them look like different websites, each of those pages. So that's one of the differences between Blogger and WordPress. I use both. I have like 10 blogs up right now, and I use both of them, and for different clients or different people. And I like using Blogger when I don't have a lot of time, but I want to do some serious visual redesign. I use WordPress when I need more power because it has categories and it has the ability to do different things with different pages. But I'm not fast enough yet in WordPress for it to take anywhere near the short amount of time that Blogger takes. It takes a lot longer for me and probably for most people to change around WordPress. Yeah.
Is there a way to take out that top header like Blogger that has the next blog?
Yeah, there is. Here I have a whole bunch of, because I've been teaching this to students, and so I put all in one place a whole bunch of cool stuff, and that's one of them. I think it's under, yeah, right here, how to hide the Blogspot navbar. There's a tutorial online about how to do that at blogger-templates.blogspot.com/2005/1/remove-navbar/.html. Or you can just surf from where we just were. But it tells you just exactly how to get rid of the, if you're interested in doing that. Yeah. In the template, the place that you put all of that CSS that we just talked about to place your background image and to set the specs, whether you want it to center or left, justify, all that kind of stuff, goes here. So this is the place where you put the color, background color. Here, put your background image here. The URL goes right there. Repeat pattern, whether you have repeat Y, repeat X, no repeat, or if you get rid of it, then it will repeat in both directions, is this line right here. If you want it to be fixed, then you use this word. If you don't, you should erase it. Center the image, or you can put left or right here. And I put that URL again right here for you to like go look up the CSS that you can't remember. So this is everything having to do with backgrounds. And spelling counts when you're doing this. If you have like your letters, if you misspell a word, then it just doesn't work. Like there's no forgiveness. So you have to get the spelling right. Punctuation counts, spacing counts, all that counts. So you have to be very, very careful when you're writing code to make sure it's all right. And then here is a place where you can change the font for the entire page, except for all the places when the font's different. So the way CSS works, it's like, okay, here's the rule for the whole page. No, except for this thing I want to do this, and for that thing I want to do this. And then if you say something twice, it doesn't freak out. It just takes the second thing. So if you say, oh, I want my background colors to be red. No, I want my background color to be blue. It's like, okay, blue's good. And it ignores red. So if you say, I want the background color for the whole page to be red, and then you say, I want the background color for the sidebar to be blue, then it goes, okay, red here, blue here. So you can assign kind of things for the whole page up at the beginning, and then later on go in and change it for certain things. And that's how the fonts are written. So it's like, here's the main font for the whole page, and then later on there's like, well, for the date on the blog, I want to use this font. And for the comments on the blog, I want to use this other font. So the CSS is going, well, most of the time we're going to use this font, but in these occasions we're going to use these others. So if you're wanting to change the font, then you want to kind of like, you have to kind of like look and see where is it that the font's getting set. And then you can change it. So the hard part is like finding the code, and then the easy part is being like, oh, here's what I want it to say, and then you type it in. So that's the main font and the main font color. Oh, I hate it when everything's too small. There's like here's an example where it says blog title. So the font size grew to 200% of what it was originally. And you can say, well, I want it to be a little bit bigger, and you can make it 250%, or I want it to be smaller, and you can make it 150%. And a good way to do this is to I like to open up another text document, like text edit or some sort of plain text editor, and put the template that I'm working on that page, and then go mess with it and mess it up. And like be like, I don't know what this is going to do, but I'll see. And then I type it in, and then I hit publish, and I'm like, oh, that's not what I wanted. And then go back. But if you get to the point where you have no idea what you're doing, you've got your like one that works already off on the side, hanging out in a Microsoft Word document or something. You know, that might not be a great idea. It's better maybe to use TextEdit, but someplace else so that you can just copy all of it and paste it back on top of your experiments and get your blog back to looking normal. It's a good way to learn. So don't be afraid to like break it. Just have a backup somewhere so that you can paste it back in without worrying about things. And if you figure something out and you're really proud of yourself, you're like, oh, it took me an hour, but I totally figured that out, then like make that your backup. So that when you mess it up later, you can go back to the place that you were happy. You're not like all the way back at yesterday or something. So there's not a whole lot that I can, in this short amount of time, explain exactly about where the font color and text is, but I can just encourage you to like go for it and play around with it. And then what I can do is show you, this is an amazing, amazing site. I like the site. You can use these pull-down menus to try out different fonts, sizes, alignment, color, leading, tracking, word spacing, decoration. You don't even have to know the difference between leading and tracking. You can just pull down these things and look at it right here. And then when you can say, well, I think this might be kind of how I want it to look. I'm not sure. Let me try something else. But you can try it over here and try it over there. So you can have 3 different things going at the same time. Once you figure out which one you really like, you can go up to where it says Get CSS for first, second, third column, and you push like first, and bam, it gives you all the code. So if you were able to figure out where to stick the code, then you can use this tool to get it to look the way you want, and then you don't have to know the code. You just copy that and paste it in that spot. And once you've done this for a little while, you start to realize this code is actually written in English. So it says things like font dash size. I think that's like the spec for the font size. Here's the font color. Here's the, so you start to, that's how I learned it. I didn't, have anybody to teach me. I didn't take it in school. I just kept hacking until I kind of it didn't feel so scary anymore. And the one other resource I'm going to show you right now is, those numbers like AA, 7, 6, C4? Like I have that memorized. There are these really great tools, these color tools that you can use to find numbers. This is one of my favorite right now. You can just drag these bars around, and it makes like a nice little palette, and you're like, ooh, I like that one. And then it's like AD5100, FA7500. Like, they're the numbers right there. So you can find some cool hexadecimal numbers without understanding what that is. Yeah?
Those are 6 character numbers.
That's a great question. Yeah. If the number is FFFFFF, one thing you can do is abbreviate it by just saying FFF. So, and these numbers aren't like that, and it's like each of these characters is different. But if the number were AA5500, you could write it shorter by saying A50. Yes. No. And the reason that people do that, because you see it quite a bit, the reason people do that is because people who are really good at code want things to be really, really efficient, and they want there to be 3 numbers instead of 6 so that the page loads faster. And I just sort of broke that rule by making a template that's got a ton of comment markup in it, and I just added a gazillion characters that don't affect the layout at all. So it will slow your site down a little bit, but I think it's cool that you can see like where stuff is. So, but especially professional designers like to make things really tight. And if you're running a huge service like Amazon, right? New York Times website goes so slow to me right now, and I want somebody to go in and like get rid of every character they possibly can because it's so slow. But I mean, we all wish for that problem, right? So there's a couple things. This is a great book. I recommend this book. I don't know her. I don't get any cut of this. I have no reason to be promoting this book other than I think it's a good book. It's cheap. It's like 10 or 11 bucks on Amazon. It's thin. It's all pictures. And it's just things like, hey, you want to format the date in Blogger? Did you realize there are all these choices? Here they are. This is the button you push. It's very easy, and it has a lot of features and shows you a lot of the things inside a Blogger that you wouldn't necessarily be able to, you might not guess it. And you're welcome to go surf the other links that I have up. I've showed you some of my favorites, but there's others that are really great. Yeah, I haven't hogged up all the time, have I? No. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Changing your template. If you go to Blogger or WordPress, you'll find there areas where you can just change your template, and within a few seconds you can get something going from that to that. Everything is handled for you. It's basically just loading different code. To do that in Blogger, you go to Dashboard, Template, Pick New, and then click on Use This Template. You'll see they provide, I don't know how many, I want to say 30 or so various templates, but I'm not positive, maybe less, I don't know, 8? And in WordPress, you go to Dashboard, Presentation, Themes, and you click on the title of the theme you want, and it changes it. And I'm just going to jump ahead. So, customizing WordPress. I'm not really planning on going over the design and CSS because they're very similar to what Jen just explained. You will find in WordPress, you should have a style sheet when you go to change your presentation, and that's where you'll find your CSS. You can download hundreds of themes that are available. You go to wordpress.org/extend/themes. You'll find some there that you can download. And additionally, I believe there are 4 or 5 links to other sites on the internet that you can find other themes that work with WordPress. Once installed, they're available immediately, and you basically just click, do I like it, do I not, and go from there. The nice thing is that there are, like I said, hundreds of templates out there, and you can differentiate yourself just by picking 1 or 2 of them. And I came across a site the other day, I wish I remember where it was. They're selling templates, and they'll tell you how many people have downloaded it. And you can actually, I think some of them are $50. You can actually buy exclusive rights to that template. So if you don't want to design something, you have a little extra cash, that's another way of differentiating yourself. Really quickly, themes go in site wp-content/themes. So when you download a theme, you're going to get a little zip file, more than likely. Unarchive that and FTP it up. On Windows, you can use what's it called? WPFTP. I haven't used it in a while. On Mac OS X, I recommend CyberDuck because it's open source and fun. Embedding video. Internet Explorer, due to patent violations, has now changed the way that it embeds video. So anybody who's updated Internet Explorer recently, and definitely the new version coming out with Vista, will not handle video the way you want. It's going to pop up a little message saying, hey, you're about to do something. And most people are going to say, I don't want to do anything, and go away from your site. So you can download, if you're using QuickTime, Apple provides something they call AC QuickTime. You can download it from this site. It's developer.apple.com/IE-embedprep.html. And you can drop that into your site and then make the appropriate calls. When you go to this page, their IE prep site, it will step you through piece by piece how to actually embed video using their tool. Another way to handle video is to use a plugin. I currently am a big fan of VPIP. You can see the site here, utilities.cynegage.com/videos playing in place, all hyphenated. The nice thing about VPIP is it plays videos in line. So when somebody clicks on your video, it actually plays while there. I'm just going to show you really quickly. Hopefully nobody's offended by terribly language. It's not bad language, but anyway. As you see, it just starts playing immediately. In line, no pop-up windows, no anything. It just kind of goes and does its thing. So it's kind of nice with VPIP that you get that. It's just a more streamlined experience, I think, for your viewers. There are other plugins available as well, and I don't mean to ignore them. I'm just a fan of VPIP currently. And finally, reducing spam. Which, if you own a blog, I'm sure at some point or another you've had to deal with it. Within WordPress, there's a little checkbox. You just say, require a previously approved comment from the author. So if somebody posts to your website and they've never commented before, you have to say, I approve it or I disapprove it. And then in the future, anytime they post, as long as they use the same email address, etc., it's just automatically going to go up. You've basically said, I trust you. Through comment moderation, you can hold comments if there are more than X number of links. So you can say more than 2 links, more than 5 links. Spammers have gotten kind of hip to that, so it's not as effective, but it's worth placing there. So what will happen is if somebody posts a comment and they have 3 links to various sites off of yours, WordPress will hold it for you to say yes or no. You can hold comments if they contain certain words in them, like shoes. So if someone's trying to sell shoes on your site, you can hold it. And you can also blacklist things. So that basically just deletes comments completely. It's extremely powerful and extremely dangerous. So if you decide, I don't want Viagra at any point on my site, if one of your friends logs in and tries to make a joke about Viagra, you're never going to know. They're going to post it, think it got up there, and it's just going to get deleted immediately. So it's kind of again, it's powerful and dangerous at the same time. And finally, there's something called CAPTCHA, which I'm sure if you've signed up for Blogger, actually a lot of sites are now using this. It puts up an image with some distorted letters, and you have to type in the letters in order to actually get past it. If you go to codex.wordpress.org/plugins/spam tools, and it's actually spam_tools, you'll find a whole set of them. I'm partial to CAPTCHA because it works, at least for me. You'll see on this, if I scroll down, it's installed here, and it requires someone to actually type that in. I've heard of sweatshops and things where people are now doing this for spammers, but there's only so much you can do. And finally, I didn't actually put it in the slide, but if you're interested in getting your video blog into iTunes, there's a plugin called WP-iCatter. I can actually just do a quick search for it and find it. Funny. Sorry, they mentioned this. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, if you're interested in it, talk to me after the session, and I'll point you in that direction. Basically, it will take care of all of the iTunes required XML to get your feed into their site. You still have to submit it through iTunes, so you still have to go to iTunes and give them your RSS feed and have them approve it and all of that. But it allows you to, one, easily get your image. Here, I'll show you Tall Guy Short Guy in iTunes. So if you want that custom image inside iTunes, you can do it. So that's handled for you. The podcast descriptions, and then anytime you post, additionally, it provides an area for you to put the time of the video. So here you can see it lists all of that for you, descriptions, etc. So it handles, again, all of that kind of specialized iTunes XML that you have to deal with, and it's just nice, just a nice little tool if you want to actually get into iTunes and reach their 30 million people. It does take descriptions, yes. So when you go to make a post, it asks you for a description, whether or not it's explicit. And actually, it just says, I think, requires headphones, and that will add the explicit tag for you. Ultimately, I think what we want you to walk away with here is don't be afraid to hack, meaning don't be afraid to go in and look at the CSS or the HTML or even the PHP if you're using WordPress, and try to see what things do, because that's how you learn. And you may come across something that nobody else has really thought of just by experimenting. It's one of those aha moments. Just keep backup copies before you do anything. So always just copy and paste your text somewhere, keep it as a backup, back up your entire site, anything like that. Just make sure you back up your text. So we're going to throw this to Q&A, and that's it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
It screws up the right-hand column result. It pushes everything down to the bottom.
Yeah. You know, a couple of times I've had people call me or, talk to me and be like, I don't know what happened. My template got all messed up. My template's all freaked out. My blog looks like a mess. And the first time I spent some time figuring it out, and I think you already know this, that it's not actually the template that gets messed up. It's the post. So it's possible if you, when you're writing your post and you write your code in your post a little bit wrong, it's possible to do something that then messes up the whole page. And the best way to see whether or not that's happening for you is to go look at something that's really old, that doesn't have the new post on it. Like go to the archives from 4 months ago and see if that's messed up too. And if it's not, then you know that it has to do with something you did. The other troubleshooting thing is like if you haven't touched your template, then nothing changed. If you change your template and it's messed up, then you change something. If you didn't change your template and it's messed up, it's not your template that's changed. So you're bringing up the exact thing that you can do something to the post and then it can like mess it up and screw your sidebar up. So there's something wrong with the code that's coming over from Blip. And if you edit it again in Blogger, you might be able to see what that is. And I bet you could email Blip and say, hey, what's happening? And they'd probably actually be really glad to find out that something's wrong, and they'll fix it for you. They're floating around here. I met the guys from Blip yesterday or the day before. They're great. So, like, just, I don't know exactly I don't know how Blip works. So I don't know what's happening, but something's up. So, yeah. Another question?
I have a comment and question. I work both with Vloggercon and then with Wordpress. And I was just wondering if this was the same thing as a year ago. When I work with Blogger, I think with those services have my own domain and put it on my own server.
Yeah.
But I understand if I work with Google like Vloggercon, I still type into their interface and they upload the file that onto the server that I can use.
Yeah.
Versus WordPress, I have more control. I directly log into my own.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's important to know for people who want to do like organization. I did a lot of things and Google was shut down a while.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really bad. So I think anybody who has permission for everything to log stuff, they have to be able to operate when they're doing enormous traffic on the web.
That's a great point.
I just want to mention it for any viewers that are viewing that streaming. Basically, a person in the audience was saying that if you're interested in keeping a mission-critical blog or vlog, to go with something like WordPress on your own server or a hosted server or something like that. Apparently there were problems with Blogger during the Katrina incident, so during the tsunami. Okay, so that's just for anyone out there. Are there any other questions?
Well, I thought I'd explain a second just for people who don't know. The way it works is that there's all of these blogs work this way. Blogger, WordPress, all the others. There's a template or some sort of information that tells you how this site's going to look and other things about it. Then there's a database where the actual things that you've typed, your URLs to your posts, your text that you've written, the photos that you've made, the URLs to the photos, are all in the database. And then there's the actual pages, the actual web pages that people look at. So when people go through your site, they're only looking at the web pages. And if you use Blogspot, your web pages end up on Blogspot. If you use your own server, even using Blogger, your web pages end up on your own server. And with WordPress, your web pages are always on your own server. But with Blogger, the actual database and the template are stored at the Blogger computer. Where WordPress, all three of those things are stored on your own server. So that's what you're talking about, is if you have all three components on your server, then, anything can happen to Blogger or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it. It's also a little more complicated to install because you have to set that stuff up on your own server. It's not that hard, though. But with Blogger, those things are like on there. That's why my students would try to do their homework, and Blogger would be down, and they'd be like, it's due an hour, where's Blogger? I need Blogger. Where that never happens when you're using WordPress because everything's on your own space. So. Yeah, other questions? I think we have...
I'm sorry, once again? The VPIP, utilities.cine.com, C-I-N-E. Sorry, it's just going to take a second to bring up. Oh, this is actually for embedding on Blogger, but nevertheless, here's VPIPs. If you are using Blogger, I'm just going to jump into this because here's the slide, why not? If you want to embed video on Blogger, embedthevideo.com or freevlog.org/popup. Both of those will help you embed video if you're using Blogger. But as for the VPIP URL right here, utilities.cinegage.com/videos playing in place, all hyphenated. Yes?
The video is embedded, does that make the page load less quickly, especially if you're on dial-up?
The question was page loading speed if the videos are embedded. If you're using VPIP, the way it's set up is it will display an image in line. So it's just loading that image. And then when the viewer clicks on the image, that's when it actually loads the video. So it doesn't take any more time other than just using video, or other than just loading the image.
The other really great thing about it, and it's well designed because of this, if you click on one image and you play that video in line, and then you like scroll down the page and you click on another image, and another new video shows up, the first one goes back to the original image. So you don't end up with like 4 or 5 movies, because some of the earlier embed the video not embed the video, but in techniques to do the same thing, you'd end up with like 5 videos opened and they'd all start playing at the same time, or they wouldn't start, they'd wait until you clicked, but when you clicked you'd have like a bunch, and that makes it really hard to scroll. So this last VPIP is great because it takes all of that into consideration. It doesn't create those problems that the other one does, and it works really well. And you can use it both with WordPress and with Blogger. So what's the iTunes publishing?
Actually, I'm hopefully going to be able to log into my site here. I believe under plugins. WP iPod Catter. So I lost the iPod portion of it. Gets your podcast ready for iTunes, et cetera, et cetera.
And is that
so, yeah. So this is the site if you actually want to download it from him. Garrick Van Buren, GarrickVanBuren.com, and then it goes through WordPress -plugins, WP iPod Catter. And let's see if I can show you. Here's kind of how you can set up your iTunes podcast, what your subtitle is, what keywords you want. The nice thing is that the keywords can be pulled from your WordPress categories. Kind of fun. Whether or not it's explicit, channel, etc. And then the images. So, and these are all the various categories that he currently has loaded in based on what's available in iTunes. I don't know how often that updates.
I think we have time for one question more, and then that's all. Is there one more question? No? Okay. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.